Thanks everybody for joining our call today. I always like to start the sessions by introducing you or reminding you of your support team. And so today we have Frank, the professor, industry expert, product designer, innovator on the call with us. We have Susie, the office goddess, the administrator. And then you have yours truly, Carrie, the marketing guy. I wanted to point out that all of these sessions are recorded and you will be able to replay them. You just go to the ZapQuotes webpage, click on the training tab, look to the calendar, and then pick the date on the calendar entry. And then when you click on it, you'll have the ability to replay the session if you missed any critical information or you had to drop off the call early for any reason. And as usual, I want to also let you know that the ZapQuotes.com website is your resource. We're beginning to add additional documents, job aids, videos, and so we want you to get used to this. Frank and I were talking earlier this week, and we're thinking about putting up a little bit of a bulletin board kind of thing where we can post questions and answer your questions. We'll see how that kind of rolls out in 2015. Again, we don't want things to get too complicated, but we would like to have information, as quickly as possible for you so that to go on to ZapQuotes.com rather than to call Frank or myself. And with that, we're going to do a little cheer for today's agenda. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an explanation, description, reintroduction of what we're calling the Zap Dash. You may have seen a reminder invitation that went out this morning. We took a little screenshot. Frank and I are really excited about that. We're also going to be covering some of your Covered California updates. Again, I attend those training sessions. I go and peruse their websites, and I try to glean information and just share, some of the higher level things and maybe point to areas where you can go get some more information. And then, of course, we'll wrap it up with any questions that you have about what you've seen during this presentation or any product enhancements or just any kind of questions that you guys have. I want to start today's session out with asking you the following question. How do you manage your contacts? And we see there that we got call Rick, call Frank, lunch, call mom, call Susie. It's a mess sometimes, right? So what is your sales process? Is it paper and pen? Is it a big old Excel file that just is getting longer and bigger and more complicated? Or are you trying to make good with Outlook, putting in your follow-up dates and putting in your notes? And Frank and I, we've talked to different folks out there, and we've actually heard about some real creative ways that folks are using Microsoft Outlook, but by and large, we found that it's kind of a mixed bag of tricks for people that are trying to keep track of that. And I don't know about you, but if you had, 100 or 200 folks that you enrolled either on the exchange or off the exchange, how are you possibly going to follow up with them and keep that whole thing balanced? And it's all about balancing, right? The concept of, time is money. So Frank and I were talking, the professor went to work and he came up with the dashboard. We've been introducing the dashboard the past couple of sessions, but we want to really kind of dig in today and talk about some refinement. So one thing I want to remind you of is you access the dashboard, or what we're calling Zap Dash, by recalling the prior quote when you're inside of the individual plan, or if you go to the client login and you log in under your username and your password. There's two different ways to access that. If you're not able to recall what your login, username, and password was, you can just send an email over to Susie, and she will look it up for you, and she'll send it out to you. Once you put your username and your passcode in, you just click on this Recall Individual Quote button, and lo and behold, what will happen is the Zap Dash will open. Now, I want to take a couple of minutes here and point out a few things for you. The first one is we're now assigning quote IDs to every quote that you do. And this is going to be really good for you in the future, because when you send a quote out, Frank's going to stamp a quote number somewhere innocuously on that document. And if a client calls you back and they want to talk about the quote that you sent them, you just open up your dashboard and then ask them what the quote ID number was, and then you can pull back exactly the quote that you had previously sent to them. Now, one of the things that we had previously done in the past is, or you guys might have been doing, is to run quotes, you maybe weren't putting in a name. You definitely had to put in the ages and the zip code, but you definitely weren't tracking phone, you were not tracking emails, and you didn't have the capability to put in or track by a follow-up date. So that's a new feature that Frank's added. The email's a new feature, and then the status is a new feature. So now you can put prospects, customers, prospect client, indicate whether they're canceled, and also over here you can now put in notes. I'd like to point out one other thing. If you'll notice, some of these quote numbers have an asterisk after them. This is a neat little feature that indicates to you that the quote that you generated, you actually went from, say, maybe a grand population of 18 quotes, and you zeroed in on maybe 1 or 2, 3 options. So the little asterisk lets you know that that's a quote that you filtered down to just give the client 1 or 2 choices, or maybe 1 choice. Just an extra little feature for you. So the next thing that I want to show is if you click on the name hyperlink, what will happen is you'll have the ability to update your record. And so you can add the email, you can update the phone number, and more importantly, you can add customer notes. Now here's a really cool little thing here, this little diagonal in the corner. If you pull on that, it will actually enlarge that box, so if you feel the need to write a novel, you can put in as much information as you choose. We would recommend, however, that you be as efficient as you can and try not to write the Great American Novel in there. Also, when you click on the follow-up date, a calendar will appear, and then you can choose dates in the future, follow-ups, so now this is becoming a more robust contact management system for you guys. And then what will happen after you hit submit, you come back, and then the record will be updated. So I want to point out that you have the possibility here now to manage your book of business by follow-up date and by status. And when we get to the end of the presentation today, I'm going to ask Frank if there's anything in the near and dear future that's going to be an exciting enhancement that he's adding, but I'm not going to go into that at this particular time. However, what I am going to do is I am going to open this up for questions or comments on what you've seen so far with this dashboard. How do you guys like it?
Looks good.
It's great, Eric.
Okay, super.
I have a question, though, about security. Is this going to be saved on the cloud, or how is this done?
All right, so if you recall right here, when you access your dashboard, you have to put in your username and your login. So nobody can get to that information unless you put in your username and your password. So that's the security measure that we have in place.
Okay. And is it being saved in the cloud?
Yes.
Okay. And then the asterisk, explain how the asterisk works again.
Okay. We have this this quote 49,461, and notice there's no asterisk of it, right, Susan?
Right.
So what happened in this quote is you put in age 34 and you ran the thing wide open, and it came back with 18 plan choices. And you just clicked on email, and you sent that whole plan out to the customer for them to pick through all 18 choices for them to differentiate. But then you came along and you talked to this guy named Carrie, and see how there's little asterisks after that one that ends in 47? What you did for Carrie is you went in there and you ran and you filtered out anything that had to do with HMO, you filtered out any HSAs, and then you only looked at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So you filtered it down to a very specific subset of plans. And then you sent that to Carrie, and that indicates that you had done some filtering or deselecting, and you didn't send all 28 plans out.
Oh, okay. It has to be modified for it to show. Got it.
Yeah, so say you narrow that down to just 2 plans, and now when you're talking to the client and you click on carry, it's going to show you just the 2 plans that you narrowed. You're on the same page with the client when they call you and say, I got the quote you sent me, and you open it up and you're getting the exact same plans that you sent that.
So we're able to update the record, and when you do, it'll reflect what those updates are. I talked about this previously, and I want to make sure that you guys are taking full advantage of this because, you know, even though we're approaching the deadline for the 1/1 effective date, you guys still have 60 more days of selling to do. And so you have some stragglers, or you might have many stragglers out there that you've talked to and you sent some information to, and we want to give you another tool to help you close those deals and get them to get off the fence. And what we recommend that you do when you filtered the plan down and you based it on just the exchange plans and they're currently uninsured, when you go to print at a glance, you would click uninsured, and this is what will print. The at a glance now has this terminology, if you will, where it talks about the exchange, it talks about the advanced tax credit, but more importantly, this middle box here, it talks about their situation, that they are currently uninsured and what the ramifications are with regard to the individual tax penalties associated with continuing to be uninsured. So we really want you guys to be aware of this, and we want you to leverage this as a way to help people make a decision. So I'm going to open this up again for questions because I'd like to get your guys' feedback. A, are you using this? Do you know how to use it? And do you find it to be of value? And don't be afraid to be the first one to speak up.
Well, I haven't started to use it, but I will because I see the value in it. And presently, I just tell my people about the 2%. And you'd be surprised how motivated they get.
Great. So now you can actually print out a document that they can tangibly put in their hands and take a look at your offer more seriously.
Now, as far as the penalty, if they fool around and they don't roll till February the 15th, their effective date will be March 1. So will they be penalized for the first 2 months of the year?
The law, as I have read this, and Susan, we can post this to our website. The way that I understand it is they have to be covered for at least 10 months out of the year before they're subject to a penalty.
Okay.
And there is actually, kind of as a side to your question, there's an IRS reconciliation form. I think I've posted out to the website. If I haven't, I know that I'm in possession of it. It just says draft on it. The thing that you guys need to know and that you can share with your clients and customers is that there's actually a formal reconciliation process, and the IRS has come up with a form that needs to be completed so that they can calculate if there's a penalty, or also if there's any subsidy that's due to be paid back as well. So it's still, it's still in the draft stage. They don't have anything official, but as we get those documents, we'll be publishing them to our website. Frank, did you want to add anything? I thought I heard you.
The dashboard doesn't just, it's not data. The data there is not data that you need to enter separately. That's when you run a quote, that each record is created. One record is created every time you run a quote. The information that Carrie was manipulating there is all information that's there that you can open up and track your changes. But the information is automatically inserted into that dashboard.
Now,
okay,
what about the dental insurance that's supposed to be coming available sometime in January through the Covered California?
Well, could you be a little more specific about what about it? Are you asking how is it going to be quoted? How are they going to offer it?
All day, yes.
Well, if you go to, in fact, if you go to the Covered California website currently now today, you can download all of that dental information. It tells you the plans, the premiums, and the rules and regulations. And I also believe, Susan, that if as you're rolling through done a few more apps, maybe they can speak to this, but Susan, I believe that when you're going through that application process, there's a part there for you that asks you about the dental. So I believe that you're currently able to quote that or include that in their request for coverage.
Well, I haven't seen it online with Covered California yet, and when I talked to them not too long ago, they said it wasn't available yet.
Ah, okay.
So
I can do a little more research on that for you, Susan, because I know you
and
can.
the other
you can
thing
see
is,
the plan. Go ahead.
And the other thing is, I heard it was an HMO plan.
There's two. There's PPOs and HMOs, and you can get that information off of their website today. They have the plan outlines and the premiums and the two choices.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been quoting that, but I haven't had any takers. So fortunately, I would be like you. I wouldn't know how to write it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see an opportunity on the app to add that. So maybe it's coming after the 1st, because that's the impression I got from Covered California when I called broker services.
Okay. Let me make a note of that, Susan. I can research that for us.
Okay. Well, I think this is great. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start using it.
Okay. Thank you.
You've all done a great job.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and just put us on mute here. Just a brief Covered California update. And Susan was asking about the extension, which came out in the Agent Weekly. It's basically they've got the extension through December 21st. And I've done some reading on this, and as sometimes is a challenge, getting a specific answer out of Covered California. But the concept here is that anyone that had an application, had started an application in process prior to the 15th, now has until the 21st to complete their application and make the payment by December 26th to get a January 1 effective date. It wasn't intended that you could start a new application after the 15th and try to get under the deadline. I have not tried that. And when I open it up for any questions, if anyone has experienced that, they may find that it will automatically push them to February 1st. The second piece of information that I wanted to share with you guys, and Susan, this is where you're going to find information about the dental, is going to the Covered California main page, going to the agent, and then the agent's resources, where you're going to find the agent how-tos and the agent tool, and you'll find the information about the dental plan. And also, if you haven't been attending those sales seminars that they've been holding, this is where you could pick up the replays of those audios by clicking on any of these weekly webinars. And then don't forget about the frequently asked questions section, because this is frankly, I go mining in here to try to find pertinent information so that I can share with you guys on the calls that we have. It runs the gauntlet of typical administrative kind of questions, specifically around how do I terminate coverage, the basic questions that you ask, that you get your customers ask you on a regular basis. There's a nice document under the quick links regarding paying your premium. It's a nice document. It has all the carriers' names, contacts, and methods and ways to make payments. That's a good one for you guys to download and have. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that we have a free ebook called The Agent's Guide to Referral, and we'd like to encourage you to go and download those for your viewing pleasure and learn about your plan, maybe incorporate them into your plans for 2015. With that, I'm going to open it up for any additional final questions that you guys have, and this is kind of the time for us to answer any questions that you have about products. I had mentioned that Frank was going to share something with us. Maybe this would be a good time for that, Frank.
Yeah. Can you go back to the dashboard?
I think I can do that. Will this work for you, Frank?
Yeah. One of the options on there is, and if you'll notice, we have a cancel, we have prospect. Yeah. When you a third option is client. It just happens to be none selected. What we're going to do is have an additional report that any of the clients that is either entered as a prospect or is changed. I'm sorry, entered as a client or is changed to a client will populate a new report called commissions, and that report's going to consist of a query. You'll be able to query it by carrier. In other words, you'll click on Anthem or you'll click on Blue Shield. It's going to bring up all your clients from that carrier that you've selected, and the ones that are denoted client will be in a column. Will be included in the left column. So you'll have, for each carrier, you'll have a column, a spreadsheet with a column, a spreadsheet-like report with a column with the client name, and then the next column over is going to be the amount of expected commissions. Once you get, the commission is going to be the same every month because they lock it in at the initial commission. So you'll only need one column to keep track of that. So, and then there's going to be another, for this year, there'll be another dozen columns, one for each month of the year. And the columns, if you look at the delete column where you have checkboxes, same idea. It's going to be a checkbox for each month. So when you receive your commission statement, all you need to do is open that up, click on the carrier that you want to reconcile, and just put your finger on the commission statement, read down that statement, look at each name, check the box beside the name in your report, and when you're all done, any boxes that are not checked means you didn't get paid on that client. And over if you don't get paid for a few months, then there's going to be a series of unchecked boxes. It'll be real easy to pick it out, and at that point, get in touch with the carrier and find out why you're not getting paid. And that should be done within the next couple of weeks easily, probably before then.
And we'll be launching that. We'll send you guys a proper communication, and of course we will put a job aid together so that you guys will be able to pull that information off of our website and easily be able to figure out how to do those. And our goal is to have that for you starting, so you'll be able to start with your commissions in January, so you'll be able to start tracking. Thanks, Frank.
Sure thing.
Do we have any other questions?
Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, but where was this dental information? I think I saw it right now. Health and dental website. Okay. I just breezed through it. But it tells the contacts, right? It doesn't have a description of benefits, right?
No, I can send it to you after this call, Susan, and I'll give you the link to where I found it off of the Covered California website, because it's in a PDF. Yeah, it's in a PDF file. It has all the carriers, all the territories, right? Because you have the different regions.
Right.
Yeah, so they've got all of that propagated. I just don't know how to enroll people in that program yet.
Okay, and does it have the list of providers that are accepting those plans?
Yeah, actually there is I would have to go and look back on it. I think they had some provider information associated with it, yes.
That would be great. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem. I'll get you all the info you need. All the info that Covered California will provide us. You have it.
All right.
Just open it up for one more second. Anybody else on the line have any questions?
No questions, but this is Harry and enjoyed it. Thank you, and great graphics.
Okay, great. You're welcome, Harry. Thank you. All right, so with that, we're going to call this to an end, and we're going to wish you guys a happy weekend and good holidays next week, and watch for more, because Frank, Susie, and I, we want to make you guys so successful in 2015 that we're going to have to start taking invitations, because our webinars are going to be so busy with people wanting to get into them.